Test, test, test. Can I be heard? Did this portal thing work correctly? This is my first time doing this. Ugh. I am very much nervous. Ah, yay! The portal worked. Y'all were able to come through. Awesome. We're not gonna mention how many test runs that needed to work. Just gonna leave that one there. We don't talk about the test runs, or the people that failed to get through the test runs. They were mostly slimes, I swear. How is everybody? How is everybody? I'm so glad y'all were able to come. Hi, Zach. Say meow. Yee. I am very excited as well. Ah. Just want to thank, like, okay. We're gonna read, I swear. We're gonna read. I am so excited because, ugh. I just want to thank everyone who's, like, already followed me and I hadn't even started yet. So I just want to thank everyone for that one. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Nervous. I'm a nervous birdie right now, but we're gonna do this, and it's gonna be fun because we're gonna be reading. Oh, no problem, Grim. No problem. I will do my best to save this and then upload it to YouTube if I can figure out how to do that. But yes, I am. I hope things go better. Well, yes. But I'm glad you could just hop right in to say hello. That means everything. It really does. Oh, I forgot. Shh, you can't hear me. Ah! Here I am talking to myself. You can't hear me. I'm a dingle butt. Uh, Here we go. Alrighty. Mm. But no, yes, I wanted to thank everyone who followed me. I don't know if I should. Uh, just, so many people. I'm sorry. I'm a little overwhelmed. It's just. It makes me happy. It really does. How many times have I streamed? This will be the first official stream by myself. I've never actually streamed before. I've been in streams with my other friends. I've kind of portaled over to them and helped them out with some games and stuff. But this is my first solo flight, as it were. So, exciting. Hope everybody is comfy. Want to wait a little bit more, see if any more people decide to hop on through the portal. It should stay open. Fingers crossed. I mean, I have the bad habit of leaving portals open accidentally, so this will be the first time I'm leaving a portal open intentionally. Yes, nervous burp, but it's okay. We will get through this together. The power of friendship. All right. Do you like the library, by the way? I'm very happy with the library. This is as neat as it's been in a long time. I cleaned it up especially for y'all, so I hope that's nice, because it is normally not like this. Oh, you're on a bus. You're on a bus. You're on a bus. Sorry. Nervous chattering. But let us do this. like open up a window. There we go. That's nice. I hope everyone's gonna be relaxed, comfy, pull up a chair, I guess chill in a bus seat, all that jazz. We're gonna be reading Alice's Adventure in Wonderland. This is probably one of my favorites. Definitely a big Alice in Wonderland fan, like pretty much all iterations, so I'm excited. And apparently everyone else is too, because this is one that won almost pretty darn quickly with a lot of votes. It was either going to be this one or Ring, which we will end up reading another time. Maybe around October for the spoopy months. We'll read the Ring, might grab some other books, but yeah, we're going to be reading some Alice in Wonderland. Also, fair warning, I apologize if I get a little too in-depth with reading and I forget to read chat, because that tends to happen when it comes to books and me. I get involved in the reading. Also, I will probably end up messing up words, and that's okay. It'll be a fun time. Y'all can giggle about yourselves about me messing up words and not knowing how to say things that should be very obvious how to say. All right. Get some water, because I've been talking. Y'all can hear me over sound of the ambiance and the rain, correct? I just want to make sure I am crystal clear for all of your pretty little ears. You're not staying, so you'll be back in about 15, 20. That's fine, that's fine. I'm a little quiet? Okay. Alright, I can fix that. That is something I can fix. Alright. Is that better? Also, thank you for dropping in, Toaster Tom. Yeah, awesome, awesome. Cool. Mic settings are a thing. All right, so I guess it is time that we start with some Alice in Wonderland then. All right, I'll see you when you get back, meow. Looking forward to it. Yes, yes. I am excited as well. It has been a while since I've read this. I'm not sure if we're gonna get through the whole book. We'll play it by ear. It is rather it's a shorter one, so we'll just see how this goes. So pull up a chair, get all nice and comfy. Find your best chillin' position. Mine is usually knees up to chest. And let us begin. Alrighty. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. Chapter 1. Down the Rabbit Hole. Alice was beginning to get very tired of sitting by her sister on the bank and of having nothing to do. Once or twice she had peeped into the book her sister was reading, but it had no pictures or conversations in it. And what is the use of a book, thought Alice, without pictures or conversations? So she was considering in her mind, as well as she could, for the hot day made her feel very sleepy and stupid, whether the pleasure of making a daisy chain would be worth the trouble of getting up and picking the daisies, when suddenly a white rabbit with pink eyes ran close by her. There was nothing so very remarkable in that, nor did Alice think it so very much out of the way to hear the rabbit say to itself, oh dear, I shall be too late." When she thought it over afterwards, it occurred to her that she ought to have wondered at this, but at the time it all seemed quite natural. Oh, Alice, you sweet, sweet girl. But when the rabbit actually took Here we go. But when the rabbit actually took a watch out of its waistcoat pocket, and looked at it, and then hurried on, Alice started to her feet, for it flashed across her mind that she had never before seen a rabbit with either a waistcoat pocket or a watch to take out of it. And burning with curiosity, she ran across the field after it, and was just in time to see it pop down a large rabbit hole under the hedge. In another moment down went Alice after it. In another moment, down went Alice after it. I apologize. Words. Never once considering how in the world she was to get out again. The rabbit hole went straight on like a tunnel for some way, and then dipped suddenly down, so suddenly that Alice had not a moment to think about stopping herself before she found herself falling down what seemed to be a very deep well. Yes, this is fun. It's quite different from the a little bit different from the Disney and all the other versions. So yes, we're getting into it. Either the well was very deep, or she fell very slowly, for she had plenty of time as she went down to look about her and to wonder what was going to happen next. First, she tried to look down and make out what she was coming to, but it was too dark to see anything. Then she looked at the sides of the well and noticed that they were filled with cupboards and bookshelves. Here and there she saw maps and pictures hung upon pegs. She took down a jar from one of the shelves as she passed. It was labeled Orange Marmalade, but to her great disappointment, it was empty. I feel that, Alice. She did not like to drop the jar for fear of killing somebody underneath, so she managed to put it into one of the cupboards as she fell past it. Well, thought Alice to herself, after such a fall as this, I shall think nothing of tumbling downstairs. How brave they'll all think me at home. Why, I wouldn't say anything about it, even if I fell off the top of the house. Which was very likely true. Oh, she's the klutz, I feel that. Where all the klutzes just like... no, it's a feeling. Continuing. Down, down, down. Would the fall never come to an end? I wonder how many miles I've fallen by this time, she said aloud. I must be getting somewhere near the center of the earth. Let me see. That would be 4,000 miles down, I think. For you see, Alice had learnt several things of this sort in her lessons in the schoolroom, and though this was not a very good opportunity for showing off her knowledge, as there was no one to listen to her, still, it was good practice to say it over. Yes, that's about right. That's about the right distance. But I wonder what latitude or longitude I've got to. Alice had not the slightest idea what latitude was, or longitude either, but she thought they were very grand words to say. Presently, she began again. I wonder if I shall fall right through the earth. How funny it'll seem to come out among the people that walk with their heads downwards. Lewis Carroll, you bastard, why must you throw in these old words? The antipathies, I think, says SongBird as well, I think, because I think that is the correct pronunciation of that word. She was rather glad there was no one listening this time, as it didn't sound at all the right word. But I shall have to ask them what the name of the country is, you know. Please, ma'am, is this New Zealand or Australia? As she tried to curtsy as she spoke, fancy curtsying as you're falling through the air. Do you think you can manage it? Gonna be honest, I've never actually tried doing a curtsy while mid-fall. I'm usually more focused on the falling aspect. Hey, Fantakeg! Welcome, welcome, welcome! Glad you can hop on in. I'm glad the portal stayed open enough for you to hop on in. We're reading some Alice in Wonderland. Pull up a chair, get all nice and comfy. Get some, warm drinks. We just started. Alice has just fallen down the hole and is contemplating life as she falls and continues to fall. I'm doing good. How are you? First stream, so I'm a little nervous, but we're having fun. I'm enjoying myself. How are you doing, hun? Oh, let me find my spot real quick. Okay, there we go. Oh, you're not really okay? What's up, hon? I mean, if you never mind, you don't have to say. I was just, curiosity killed the burb. Well, I hope you can enjoy a chill, nice, relaxing time here. We're just gonna be reading a book. Just vibe out, enjoy. If you just want to lurk, you can lurk. If you want to chit-chat, you can chit-chat. I will be doing my best to keep an eye on the chat, as it were. But if I do get a little too into reading, I apologize. Alrighty. Alright, we were, do you think you can manage it? Curtsying through the air. Acrobatic trick? Very much so. And what an ignorant little girl she'll think me for asking. No, it'll never do to ask. Perhaps I shall see it written upon somewhere. Oh, you don't feel like you belong to the place where you are? I feel that. But the funny thing is, a lot of people will feel that way, actually. Because everyone's unique, and there's not really a specific place where you're supposed to fit. But you're welcome to be an odd duck like this little bird right here and fit right in right here. No one really fits in here. We just kind of, we're here. We're enjoying our time, and that's it, and that's fine. We're all a little odd. I mean, well, I think I'm normal compared to me, but I walk up to you and I've got talons for feet and wings for ears, and here we go. So. But you're welcome to chill out here, hun, and just enjoy the time. There is no judgments here. Unless you murdered somebody, in which case little bit of a judgment. You feel a little empty inside? I understand that. I get that way sometimes as well. But, it's usually better, trying to stay positive. I know it's easier said than done, but if all you're gonna look for is the dark, that's all you're really gonna find. Cliche, I know, but, you know, some cliches are cliches because it's the truth. And I'm sorry you feel that way. I really am. It's a shitty feeling. But you're welcome to pull up a chair. We can chill, relax, vibe out, just have a good time and relax. Sometimes that just helps, just to chill and all that jazz. And I'm repeating myself because I'm a nervous chit-chatter. And this is my first time doing this. Yeah. But nah, I'm glad you can come in. Try and make this as relaxing for you and probably little silly at the same time. Because it's Alice in Wonderland. It's gonna get silly up in here. Okay, let us continue. Down, down, down. There was nothing else to do, so Alice soon began talking again. Dinah'll miss me very much tonight, I should think. Dinah was the cat. I hope they'll remember her saucer of milk at tea time. Dinah, my dear, I wish you were down here with me. There are no mice in the air, I'm afraid, but you might catch a bat, and that is very like a mouse, you know. But do cats eat bats? I wonder. And here Alice began to get rather sleepy, and went on saying to herself in a dreamy sort of way, do cats eat bats? Do cats eat bats? And sometimes, do bats eat cats? For you see, as she couldn't answer either question, it didn't much matter which way she put it. She felt that she was dozing off, and had just begun to dream that she was walking hand in hand with Dinah, and saying to her, very earnestly, now, Dinah, tell me the truth. Did you ever eat a bat? When suddenly, thump, 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 down she came upon a heap of sticks and dry leaves, and the fall was over. Alice was not a bit hurt, and she jumped up onto her feet in a moment. She looked up, but it was all dark overhead. Before her was another long passage, and the white rabbit was still in sight, hurrying down it. There was not a moment to be lost. Away went Alice like the wind, and was just in time to hear it say as it turned a corner, "Oh, my ears and whiskers, how late it's getting!" She was close behind it when she turned the corner, but the rabbit was no longer to be seen. She found herself in a long, low hall, which was lit up by a row of lamps hanging from the roof. There were doors all around the hall, but they were all locked, and when Alice had been all the way down one side and up the other, trying every door, she walked sadly down the middle, wondering how she was ever going to get out again. Suddenly, she came upon a little three-legged table, all made of solid glass. There was nothing on it but a tiny golden key, and Alice's first idea was that this might belong to one of the doors of the hall. But alas, either the locks were too large, or the key was too small. But at any rate, it would not open any of them. However, on the second time round, she came upon a low curtain she had not noticed before, and behind it was a little door about 15 inches high. She tried the little golden key in the lock, and to her great delight, it fitted. Alice opened the door and found that it led into a small passage, not much larger than a rat hole. She knelt down and looked along the passage into the loveliest garden you ever saw. How she longed to get out of that dark hall and wander about among those beds of bright flowers and those cool fountains, but she could not even get her head through the doorway. And if even my head would go through, thought poor Alice, it would be of very little use without my shoulders. Oh, how I wish I could shut up like a telescope. I think I could, if I only knew how to begin. For you see, so many out-of-the-way things had happened lately that Alice had begun to think that very few things indeed were really impossible. There seemed to be no use in waiting by the little door, so she went back to the table, half hoping she might find another key on it, or at any rate a book of rules for shutting people up like telescopes. This time she found a little bottle on it, which certainly was not there before, said Alice. And tied round the neck of the bottle was a paper label with the words "Drink Me" beautifully printed on it in large letters. Oh, we're getting to it. Sorry. Need some water. It was all very well to say "drink me," but the wise little Alice was not going to do that in a hurry. "No, I'll look first," she said, "and see whether it's marked poison or not." For she had read several nice little stories about children who had got burnt and eaten up by wild beasts and other unpleasant things, all because they would not remember the simple rules their friends had taught them, such as that a red-hot poker will burn you if you hold up too long, and that if you cut your finger very deeply with a knife, it usually bleeds. And she had never forgotten that if you drink much from a bottle marked poison, it's almost certain to disagree with you sooner or later. Understatement of the century, Alice, but very correct. Very correct. However, this bottle was not marked poison, so Alice ventured to taste it, and finding it very nice, it had, in fact, a sort of mixed flavor of cherry tart, custard, pineapple, roast turkey, toffee, and hot buttered toast. She very soon finished it off. You know, that's an interesting mixture of flavors. I'm not actually sure how that would taste, but I am very curious nonetheless. What about you, chat? You curious about that flavor combination? Sound good or not? What a curious feeling, said Alice. I must be shutting up like a telescope. And so it was indeed. She was now only 10 inches high, and her face brightened up at the thought that she was now the right size for going through the little door into that lovely garden. Yeah, it could be pretty good, huh, Toaster Tom? Perhaps. Maybe there is a recipe somewhere. Gonna have to Google that one later. First, however, she waited for a few minutes to see if she was going to shrink any further. She felt a little nervous about this. For it might end, you know, said Alice to herself, in my going out altogether like a candle. I wonder what I should be like then. And she tried to fancy what a flame of a candle looks like after the candle is blown out, for she could not remember ever having seen such a thing. Maybe save the combo for potential cooking stream? Ooh. Cooking is not my forte. Kentikeg back in with the super in-depth, mind-boggling questions. What is hate for you? That's a hard one. You feel like you're in a kindergarten class again, Dragon? Yes. Teacher Birdie. No, that's probably not a good idea. Do not let me teach you. It will not turn out well again. Hate. You know, I might have to put a pin in that one because that's a little hard to pin down. I don't think I have a exact definition for it, if I'm gonna be honest. I mean, I can Google a definition real easy, but for me, putting the what hate is for me into like words is not something my brain is capable of. I'm not gonna lie. That is not my forte. Well, they might not necessarily read books in the kindergarten, but sometimes teachers will have a story time like this. Maybe not necessarily Alice in Wonderland because it's an older book, but usually like Red Bear, Brown Bear, the little worm that eats everything, the fishy with the pretty scales. I'm just going off the top of my head. Dr. Seuss is a big one. Alrighty. Let us continue. Alice is contemplating what she would look like if she blew out like a candle, and she's having a little issues. After a while, finding that nothing more happened, she decided on going into the garden at once. But alas for poor Alice, when she got to the door, she found that she had forgotten the little golden key, and when she went back to the table for it, she found she could not possibly reach it. She could see it quite plainly through the glass, and she tried her best to climb up on one of the legs of the table, but it was too slippery, and when she had tired herself out with trying, the poor little thing sat down and cried. "Oh, come, there's no use in crying like that," Alice told herself rather sharply. "I advise you to leave off this minute." She generally gave herself very good advice, though she very seldom followed it. And sometimes she scolded herself so severely as to bring tears into her eyes. And once she remembered trying to box her own ears for having cheated herself in a game of croquet she was playing against herself. For this curious child was very fond of pretending to be two people. But it's no use now, thought poor Alice, to pretend to be two people. Why, there's hardly enough of me left to make one respectable person. How do you think why some people hate themselves? Well, it's gonna sound really generic, but society is a big one for why people tend to hate themselves, just because people are always comparing themselves to others. But it's also just a lot of self-doubt. Anxiety, yeah. They may not want a personality trait they have or regret a choice they made. Yeah, that as well. There's a multitude of things. It's not really a clear black and white answer for that one, Fanta. I'm just gonna call you Fanta. I hope that's okay. If not, just let me know and I can switch it around. But nah, it's not an easy thing to pin down. The questions you're asking, while they're good questions and very thought-provoking, yes, this is a philosophical story time mixed with Alice in Wonderland. Interesting combination, I know. But no, they're not easy questions to pin down, and they're not gonna have black and white answers, unfortunately. Life ain't that simple. I wish it were, but unfortunately it is not. Let's not find the meaning of life. I'm not looking for a lifelong stream here. My first stream is not gonna take the rest of my life to try and figure out, please. Please, no. I just try to get through Alice in Wonderland. I don't want the meaning of life, you nutters. Making me use my brain. How dare all of you. This poor thing is still waking up. Nah, y'all are good. Y'all are good. Alrighty. Your nickname reads supposed to be Red Russian. Oh, that's really cool. Red and Russian. That's awesome. Oh, thank you, Dragon. Thank you. I love it too. I found the form that works best, and I'm quite happy with it. But that's really cool. Ugh. Sorry, Russian is not something I can easily pronounce. This is a time when it's like a voice. Ha! How do you pronounce this? But no, Russian, that's really cool. That's awesome. Alright. Almost done with the first chapter. Soon her eyes fell on a little glass box that was lying under the table. She opened it and found in it a very small cake on which the words "Eat me" were beautifully marked in currants. Currants, yeah, currants. Well, I'll eat it, said Alice, and if it makes me grow larger, I can reach the key, and if it makes me grow smaller, I can creep under the door, so either way, I'll get into the garden, and I don't care which happens. There we go. Positive outlooks, Alice. Positive outlooks. Silver linings. She ate a little bit and said anxiously to herself, "Which way, which way?" holding her hand on the top of her head to feel which way it was growing, and she was quite surprised to find that she remained the same size. To be sure, this is what generally happens when one eats cake, but Alice had got so much into the way of expecting nothing but out of the way things to happen, that it seemed quite dull and stupid for life to go on in the common way. So she set to work and very soon finished off the cake. Oh, we've got that going. How we doing, stream? Okay, cool. My stream was buffering on here, so I was worried. Alright. Benedict? Is that correct? Benedict. Maybe? Perhaps. Gotta go back to work. Have a good stream. Enjoy the story time. Awesome. You have a good day at work, Dragon. You have a good day. Or at least I hope you have a good day. Try to say it more hard. Benedict. Or angry. Benedict. I'm trying to do a Russian accent and I cannot. That is not an accent I can do. Benedict. My tongue to work. I apologize. I will have to see about looking that up. Because now I'm just curious and determined. Alrighty. On to chapter 2. The Pool of Tears. Curiouser and curiouser, cried Alice. She was so much surprised that for the moment she quite forgot how to speak good English. I feel that a lot, Alice. Now I'm going out like the largest telescope that ever was. Goodbye, feet! For when she looked down at her feet, they seemed to be almost out of sight. They were getting so far off. Oh, my poor little feet. I wonder who will put on your shoes and stockings for you now, dears. I'm sure I shan't be able. I shall be a great deal too far off to trouble myself about you. You must manage the best you can. But I must be kind to them, thought Alice. Or perhaps they won't walk the way I want to go. Let me see. I'll give them a new pair of boots every Christmas. Yeah, Russian can be complicated. I think it's just like getting the pronunciations correct. I think that would be step 1. And then obviously just like the written language and everything else. But to be fair, English is a bitch to learn too, so. Little Alice trying to be all nice to her feet. And she went on planning to herself how she would manage it. They must go on by the carrier, she thought, and how funny it'll seem sending presents to one's own feet, and how odd the directions will look. Alice's right foot, Esquire. Hearth rug, near the fender, with Alice's love. Oh dear, what nonsense I'm talking. Maybe it's hard to say when you know the language from time when you was a kid. Yeah, knowing something is easier. Yeah. Hey, I speak English as like my first language, and I still have issues with it. But that's just me. So if I have issues pronouncing something in another language, yeah, I apologize. I am trying my best. I really am. How many languages do I know? English. Passed Spanish with a C to get the credit, because I tried Turkish, but that didn't count as foreign language credit for some reason. Thank you, American school system. That makes sense. Took a year of Japanese, but as the saying goes, if you don't use it, you lose it. So I kind of just know words here and there from multiple places, but no actual way of putting them together in a coherent sentence. Yeah. So make sure y'all are staying hydrated and stretching every once in a while. Because I know that's what I'm doing. Because otherwise, my limbs will fall asleep. Ugh. Okie dokie. Pokey looky. Just at this moment, her head struck against the roof of the hall. In fact, she was now rather more than 9 feet high, and she at once took upon the little golden key and hurried off to the garden door. You know 3 languages: Russian, English Delurging, and Kazakh. Huh, that's a new one. That's really cool, though. It's so awesome, like, when people know, like, more than one language. It's really good. And from what I'm reading, your English is really good. So keep it up. You got this. I know it's a hard one to learn, but I believe in you. You can do it. Determination, willpower, and just trying to work through English is bullshit, because it has many bullshits. No problem. Poor Alice. It was as much as she could do, lying down on one side to look through into the garden with one eye. But to get through was more hopeless than ever. She sat down and began to cry again. "You ought to be ashamed of yourself," said Alice. "A great girl like you." She might as well say this. "To go on crying in this way. Stop this moment, I tell you." But she went on all the same, shedding gallons of tears, until there was a large pool all around her, about 4 inches deep, and reaching half down the hall. After a time, she heard a little pattering of feet in the distance, and she hastily dried her eyes to see what was coming. It was the White Rabbit returning, splendidly dressed, with a pair of white kid gloves in one hand and a large fan in the other. He came trotting along in a great hurry, muttering to himself as he came, "Oh, the Duchess! Oh, won't she be a savage if I kept her waiting?" Alice felt so desperate that she was ready to ask help of anyone. So when the rabbit came near her, she began in a low, timid voice, "If you please, sir." The rabbit started violently, dropped the white kid gloves and the fan, and scurried away into the darkness as hard as he could. Alice took upon the fan and gloves, and, as the hall was very hot, she kept fanning herself all the time she went on talking. Dear, how queer everything is today. And yesterday things went on just as usual. I wonder if I've changed in the night. Let me think. Was I the same when I got up this morning? I almost think I can remember feeling a little different. But if I'm not the same, the next question is, who in the world am I? And that's the great puzzle. and she began thinking over all the children she knew that were the same age as herself, to see if she could have been changed for any of them. In truth, English is not that hard, and when nearly everything in English you have to know is at least basics. Yeah, it's just, English gets hard when you get to, like, the nuances and specific little things like phonics. And so many words that sound the same, but are all spelt differently. Or words that have some letters that you don't even say, but they're there anyway, just take up space, 'cause it makes it look pretty. Anywho's, let us continue. I'm sure I'm not Ada, she said, for her hair goes into such long ringlets, and mine doesn't go in ringlets at all. And I'm sure I can't be Mabel, for I know all sorts of things, and she knows such a very little. Besides, she's she, and I'm I. And oh dear, how puzzling it all is. I'll try if I know all the things I used to know. Let me see. 4 times 5 is 12, and 4 times 6 is 13, and 4 times 7 is... oh dear, I shall never get to 20 at that rate. However, the multiplication table doesn't signify. Let's try geography. London is the capital of Paris, and Paris is the capital of Rome, and Rome... No, that's all wrong. I'm certain. I must have been changed from Mabel. I'll try and say, how doth the little... And she crossed her hands on her lap, as if she were saying the lessons, and began to repeat it. But her voice sounded hoarse and strange, and the words did not come the same as they used to do. How doth the little crocodile improve his shining tail, and pour the waters of the Nile on every golden scale? How cheerfully he seems to grin, how neatly spreads his claws, and welcomes little fishes in with gently smiling jaws. I'm sure those are not the right words, said poor Alice, and her eyes filled with tears again as she went on. I must be Mabel after all. Poor Mabel is getting dragged up in here, man. Just F in chat for Mabel, man. F in chat for Mabel. And I shall have to go and live in that poky little house and have next to no toys to play with, and oh, ever so many lessons to learn. No, I've made up my mind about it. If I'm Mabel, I'll stay down here. It'll be no use they're putting their heads down and saying, come up again, dear. I shall only look up and say, who am I then? Tell me that first, and then, if I like being that person, I'll come up. If not, I'll stay down here till I'm somebody else. But oh dear, cried Alice with a sudden burst of tears. I do wish they would put their heads down. I am so very tired of being all alone here. I remember how I had problems with the word cafe because of its pronunciation. I heard that cafe is a French word. Yeah, English took quite a few words from other countries and kind of just jammed everything in together. That's pretty much the English language. We found a bunch of shit we liked from other countries and mishmashed it and Frankensteined it together. That's pretty much it. Alright. As she said this, she looked down at her hands and was surprised to see that she had put on one of the rabbit's little white kid gloves while she was talking. How can I have done that, she thought. I must be growing small again. She got up and went to the table to measure herself by it, and found that, as nearly as she could guess, she was now about 2 feet high, and was going on shrinking rapidly. She soon found out that the cause of this was the fan she was holding, and she dropped it hastily, just in time to save herself from shrinking away altogether. That was a narrow escape, said Alice, a good deal frightened at the sudden change, but very glad to find herself still in existence. And now for the garden. And she ran with all speed back to the little door. But alas, the little door was shut again, and the little golden key was lying on the glass table as before. And things are worse than ever, thought the poor child, for I never was so small as this before, never. and I declare it's too bad that it is. Blech. As she said these words, her foot slipped, and in another moment, splash! She was up to her chin in salt water. Her first idea was that she had somehow fallen into the sea. And in that case, I can go back by railway, she said to herself. Alice had been to the seaside once in her life, and had come to the general conclusion that wherever you go to on the English coast, you find a number of bathing machines in the sea. Bathing machines, probably bathing? I think it's bathing. I'm going to say bathing machines on the sea. Some children digging in the sand with wooden spades, then a row of lodging houses, and behind them a railway station. However, she soon made out that she was in the pool of tears, which she had wept when she was 9 feet high. I wish I hadn't cried so much, said Alice, as she swam about, trying to find her way out. I shall be punished for it now, I suppose, by being drowned in my own tears. That will be a queer thing, to be sure. However, everything is queer today. Just then, she heard something splashing about in the pool a little way off, and she swam nearer to make out what it was. At first, she thought it must be a walrus or a hippopotamus. But then she remembered how small she was now, and she soon made out that it was only a mouse that had slipped in like herself. When I understand that in cafe sounds like Kazakh letter, I didn't have problems with it. Nice! Got a little word tricks like that are really cool. That's a nice thing. Nice little shortcut. Would it be of any use now, thought Alice, to speak to this mouse? Everything is so out of the way down here that I should think very likely it can talk. At any rate, there's no harm in trying. So she began. Oh, mouse, do you know the way out of this pool? I am very tired of swimming about here. Oh, mouse! Alice thought this must be the right way of speaking to a mouse. She had never done such a thing before, but she remembered having seen, in her brother's Latin grammar, a mouse of a mouse, to a mouse, oh mouse. The mouse looked at her rather inquisitively, and seemed to hear her wink, and she seemed to... Words, what are they? And seemed to her to wink with one of its little eyes, but it said nothing. Perhaps it doesn't understand English, thought Alice. I dare say it's a French mouse, come over with William the Conqueror. For, with all her knowledge of history, Alice had no very clear notion how long ago anything had happened. So, she began again. Oh, God, it's in French. Oui, machete. I sang as I am butchering the French language, and I apologize for that. I forgot this book had a French section. Which was the first sentence in her French lesson book. The mouse gave a sudden leap out of the water and seemed to quiver all over with fright. Oh, I beg your pardon, cried Alice hastily, afraid that she had hurt the poor animal's feelings. I quite forgot you don't like cats. Oh, it's cats, chat. So, chat? Ugh, I give up. I'm not going to try it again. I apologize. Moving on. Not like cats, cried the mouse in a shrill, passionate voice. Would you like cats if you were me? Well, perhaps not, said Alice in a soothing tone. Don't be angry about it. And yet I wish I could show you our cat Dinah. I think you'd take a fancy to cats, if you could only see her. She's such a dear, quiet thing. Alice went on, half to herself, as she swam lazily about in the pool, and she sits purring so nicely by the fire, licking her paws and washing her face. And she is such a nice, soft thing to nurse, and she's such a capital one for catching mice. Oh, I beg your pardon, cried Alice, for this time the mouse was bristling all over, and she felt certain it must be really offended. We won't talk about her any more, if you would rather not. We indeed, cried the mouse, who was trembling down to the end of its tail. As if I would talk on such a subject. Our family has always hated mice. Cats. Always hated cats. Nasty, low, vulgar things. Don't let me hear the name again. I won't indeed, said Alice, in a great hurry to change the subject of conversation. Are you fond of dogs? The mouse did not answer, so Alice went on eagerly. There is such a nice little dog near our house. I would like to show you. a little bright-eyed terrier, you know? With, oh, such long, curly brown hair. And it'll fetch things when you throw them. And it'll sit up and beg for its dinner. And all sorts of things. I can't remember half of them. And it belongs to a farmer, you know? And he says it's so useful, it's worth 100 pounds. He says it kills all the rats and... Oh dear, cried Alice in a sorrowful tone. I'm afraid I've offended it again. For the mouse was swinging away from her as hard as it could, and making quite a commotion in the pool as it went. Oh, poor Alice. Are you an interdimensional? Yes, I am an interdimensional bird. Interdimensional travel is I want to say forte. I do it, but there have been complications from time to time when it comes to interdimensional travel. So yeah. Step 1, know where you are portaling to. Step 2, close the portals. Step 3, don't hit random on the portal machine. You never know where you're gonna end up. Hey, Belle. Hey, glad you can make it. Looks like the portal's still going strong. Awesome sauce. Yeah. But yes, interdimensional travel is my thing. I portal here, there, and everywhere. Before I started doing this, I would portal over to my friends' channels and play some games with them. But we're sitting here at home base. This is the library. So yeah, we're just having a fun little chill time right now. Yeah, epic reading. We are in Alice in Wonderland. Alice has just gravely offended a mouse by talking about cats that chase and catch mice, and then a terrier that catches and chases mice. She's trying her best, Alice, but she's not doing the greatest. Her people-to-mouse skills are not the best in the world, which, I mean, fair. Alrighty. Have you ever wanted to write a book? I've done a little writing here and there, but I've never actually written a book. I need to get back into writing, though. I have just been a mixture of lazy, busy with a bunch of other stuff, and easily sidetracked. Very easily sidetracked. Alrighty. So she called softly after it, Mouse dear, do come back, and we won't talk about cats or dogs either if you don't like them. When the mouse heard this, it turned around and swam slowly back to Alice. Its face was quite pale, with passion, Alice thought, and it said in a low, trembling voice, Let us get to shore, and then I'll tell you my history, and you'll understand why it is I hate cats and dogs. It was high time to go, for the pool was getting quite crowded with the birds and animals that had fallen into it. There was a duck and a dodo, a lory and an eaglet, and several other curious creatures. Alice led the way, and the whole party swam to the shore. Alrighty, chapter 2 is complete. On to chapter 3 we go. A caucus race and a long tail. They were indeed a queer-looking party that assembled on the bank. The birds with draggled feathers, the animals with their fur clinging close to them, and all dripping wet, cross and uncomfortable. The first question, of course, was how to get dry again. They had a consultation about this, and after a few minutes it seemed quite natural to Alice to find herself talking familiarly with them, as if she had known them all her life. Indeed, she had quite a long argument with the lory, who at last turned sulky and would only say, I'm older than you, and must know better. And this Alice would not allow. Without knowing how old it was, and as the lory positively refused to tell its age, there was no more to be said. At last the mouse, who seemed to be a person of some authority among them, called out, Sit down, all of you, and listen to me. I'll soon make you dry enough. They all sat down at once, and in a large ring, with the mouse in the middle. Alice kept her eyes anxiously fixed on it, for she felt sure she would catch a bad cold if she did not get dry very soon. Ahem, said the mouse with an important air. Are you all ready? This is the driest thing I know. Silence all around, if you please. William the Conqueror, whose cause was favored by the Pope, was soon submitted to by the English,
who wanted leaders and had been of late much accustomed to fucking forgive me. All right. Who wanted leaders and had been of late much accustomed to usurpation and conquest. Edwin and Morcar, the Earls of Mercia and Northumbria. I don't need a phone call from the NRA, you stubborn phone. For me, it is currently 2:01 p.m. What time is it for you?
Said the Lorry with a shiver. I beg your pardon, said the Mouse, frowning, but very politely. Did you speak? Not I, said the Lorry hastily. I thought you did, said the Mouse. I proceed. Edwin and Morcar, the Earls of Mercia and Northumbria, declared for him, and even Stigand, the Patriarch Archbishop of Canterbury, found it advisable. Found what? Said the Duck. Found it, the Mouse replied rather crossly. Of course you'll know what it means. I know what it means well enough when I find a thing, said the Duck.
Oh, who followed? Oh, Siberius, hey, thank you for the follow. Oh my god. Yay, that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you for coming in through for Storytime. What? Huh?
I'm
getting a
respecting
host?
your privacy by
What is
knocking,
this?
but asserting my
Nani?
authority as your business partner by coming in anyway.
Oh, you're hosting as well. That's awesome. Oh my god, thank you. It's going good. We're reading some Alice in Wonderland. We're having some fun. We're currently Alice is trying to get dry after almost drowning in her own tears with a bunch of other animals, and the mouse is taking it quite literally. But no, thank you so much for coming by. This is awesome. I'm so excited. Yee. Alright, where was I? I was with a duck. I know I was with a duck.
I know what it means well enough when I find a thing, said the Duck. It's generally a frog or a worm. The question is, what did the Archbishop find?
Oh, my. Hey, Arrow! Yeah, Meow, I got a follow. Siberius followed me. Thank you, Sif. Thank you. Sorry, I'm very excited. Oh, and yes. Welcome back, Meow. Welcome back. Hey, Arrow. Hey, I see the little emoji. It's moving. That's so cute. Okay, I'm getting distracted. Hey, Bones! Thank you for the follow. Thank you. Glad you could pop on in. Yeah, we're doing some story time. We're chilling, vibing. Alice in Wonderland. Yee. Sorry, I'm all excited now. You had no service, so rip.
Oh, I feel that. Okay, it's less than no service and more just like my phone being a butt, if I'm gonna be honest. But that sucks. But I'm glad you could come back and hop on in. We're not too far in. We're in chapter 3. So, we got time, but yeah.
Alrighty.
The mouse did not notice this question, but hurriedly went on. Found it advisable to go with Edgar... Oh, God. Carol Lewis, why did you do this to me with all these big frickin' names, man?
Edgar Atheling to meet William and offer him the crown. William's conduct at first was moderate, but the insolence of his Normans... How are you getting on now, my dear?
It continued, turning to Alice as it spoke. As wet as ever, said Alice in a melancholy tone. It doesn't seem to dry me at all.
Oh, yeah, you started at chapter 1. Alright, I will give you a quick recap.
Well, Alice fell down the hole. She cried a lot when she was super big, so now there's a lot of water. She got small again, so almost drowned. She met up with a mouse, who she quickly offended by bringing up cats and dogs. She met a whole bunch of other animals that were also wet. They all swam up onto a bank, and now they are trying to get dry. And the mouse's idea of getting dry is literally just boring them to death with history stuff. And Alice is quickly picking up on this, that this is not actually going to physically get them dry. They're all going to catch a cold. That's pretty much a quick little recap. I hope that is sufficient. I apologize if it is not.
In that case, said the dodo solemnly, rising to its feet, I move that the meeting adjourn for the immediate adoption of more energetic remedies. Speak English, said the eaglet. I don't know the meaning of half those long words, and what's more, I don't believe you do either. Oh, all right. Thank you for stopping by, Fanta. You have a good day, good night, whichever one it is. Thank you for popping by. Oh, thank you for the follow. Thank you. But yes, goodbye. I hope you have a good day. Feel better, or at least slightly better than when you came in. I hope so. Bye. Okay. I don't know the meaning of half those long words, and what's more, I don't believe you do either. And the oh, good lord. And the eaglet bent down its head to hide a smile. Some of the other birds tittered audibly. Gossiping birds. Naughty, naughty, naughty. Don't do the gossiping birds here. All right. What I was going to say, said the dodo in an offended tone, was that the best thing to get us dry would be a caucus race. What is a caucus race? Said Alice. Not that she much wanted to know, but the dodo had paused as if it thought that somebody ought to speak, and no one else seemed inclined to say anything. Why, said the dodo, the best way to explain it is to do it. And as you might like to try the thing yourself some winter day, I will tell you how the dodo managed it. Ooh, we are getting instructions on how to do a caucus race. Totally not going to try and remember this next time I want to get warm and attempt it. Let's see how this works. First, it marked out a race course in a sort of a circle. The exact shape doesn't matter, it said. And then all the party were placed along the course here and there. There was no 1, 2, 3 and away, but they began running when they liked and left off when they liked. So that it was not I apologize. My brain is right now. Alrighty. Let's take 2. Aaron SongBird attempts to read. There was no 1, 2, 3 and away, but they began running when they liked and left off when they liked, so that it was not easy to know when the race was over. However, when they had been running half an hour or so, and were quite dry again, the dodo suddenly called out, "The race is over!" And they all crowded around it, panting and asking, "But who has won?" This question the dodo could not answer without a great deal of thought, and it stood for a long time with one finger pressed upon its forehead, the position in which you usually see Shakespeare in the pictures of him. While the rest waited in silence, at last the dodo said, "Everybody has won, and all must have prizes." "But who is to give the prizes?" quite a chorus of voices asked. "Why, she, of course," said the dodo, pointing to Alice with one finger, and the whole party at once crowded round her, calling out in a confused way, "Prizes! Prizes!" Oh, good lord, poor Alice. Alice had no idea what to do, and in despair, she put her hand in her pocket and pulled out a box of comfits. Luckily, the salt water had not gotten into it, and handed them round as prizes. There was exactly one apiece all round. Okay, I'm curious. All right, what is a comfit? I need to look this up. I apologize. My curiosity is going to get the better of me for this one. What is a comfit? Oh, a candy consisting of a nut, seed, or other center coated in sugar. Cool. You learn something new every day. Now I want to try one. Okay, continuing on. "But she must have a prize herself, you know," said the mouse. "Of course," the dodo replied very gravely. "What else have you got in your pocket?" It went on, turning to Alice. "Only a thimble," said Alice sadly. "Hand it over." "Hand it over here," said the dodo. Then they all crowded round her once more, while the dodo solemnly presented the thimble, saying, "We beg your acceptance of this elegant thimble." And when it had finished this short speech, they all cheered. Alice thought the whole thing very absurd, but they all looked so grave that she did not dare to laugh. And as she could not think of anything to say, she simply bowed and took the thimble, looking as solemn as she could. Yeah, it does. I looked up the image. It is like a type of candy, so I don't know if they actually still make it. Or I would assume they do, but it might be called something else. Water. Yum. The next thing was to eat the comfits. This caused some noise and confusion, as the large birds complained that they could not taste theirs, and the small ones choked and had to be patted on the back. However, it was over at last, and they sat down again in a ring, and begged the mouse to tell them something more. Oh, fudge monkeys. You promised to tell me your history, you know, said Alice. And why is it you hate C and D? She added in a whisper, half afraid that it would be offended again. Mine is a long and sad tale, said the mouse, turning to Alice and sighing. It is a long tale, certainly, said Alice, looking down with wonder at the mouse's tail. But why do you call it sad? And she kept puzzling on about it while the mouse was speaking, so that her idea of the tale was something like this. Oh, boy. Just informing y'all, because I'm looking at the book. I'm gonna have some fun with this one. Because it is literally large text all spiraling down into a little point. So, we're gonna have fun. Alright. Furry said to a mouse that he met in the house. Let us both go to law. I will prosecute you. Come, I'll take no denial. We must have the trial. For really this morning I've nothing to do, said the mouse to the cur. Such a trial, dear sir, with no jury or judge, would be wasting our breath. I'll be judge, I'll be jury, said cunning old furry. I'll try the whole cause and condemn you to death. Good Lord, that escalated quickly. You are not attending, said the mouse to Alice severely. What are you thinking of? I beg your pardon, said Alice very humbly. You had to got to the fifth bend, I think. I had not, cried the mouse, sharply and very angrily. A knot, said Alice, always ready to make herself useful and looking anxiously about her. Oh, do let me help to undo it. I shall do nothing of the sort, said the mouse, getting up and walking away. You insult me by talking such nonsense. I didn't mean it, pleaded poor Alice. But you're so easily offended, you know. The mouse only growled in reply. Please come back and finish your story, Alice called after it, and the others all joined in chorus. Yes, please do. But the mouse only shook its head impatiently and walked a little quicker. What a pity it wouldn't stay, sighed Laurie, as soon as it was quite out of sight, and an old crab took the opportunity of saying to her daughter, Ah, my dear, let this be a lesson to you never to lose your temper. Hold your tongue, Ma, said the young crab a little snappishly. You're enough to try the patience of an oyster. Oh, boy. Oh, yee! I'm glad you're having fun, Meow. I'm glad you're having fun. I'm having fun as well. I'm very excited. Yee. We're doing good. I'm very excited. This is good. I'm glad everyone's having a fun time, and we're chilling and vibing. Yes, all those things. I'm excited. I wish I had our Dinah here. I know I do, said Alice aloud, addressing nobody in particular. She'd soon fetch it back. And who is Dinah, if I might venture to ask the question, said the Laurie. Alice replied eagerly, for she was always ready to talk about her pet. Okay, I feel that. Yee. Thanks, Belle. Thanks. But no, I feel that. Always. You want to talk about my pets? You want to talk about my cat? My cat is the greatest. My cat is the best of cats. I feel that, Alice. Like, cats, man. Just talk about your precious baby kitties. Okay. Dinah's our cat, and she's such a capital one for catching mice. You can't think. And why, oh, I wish you could see her after the birds. Why, she'll eat a little bird as soon as look at it. This speech caused a remarkable sensation among the party. Some of the birds hurried off at once. One old magpie began wrapping itself up very carefully, remarking, I really must be getting home. The night air doesn't suit my throat. And a canary called out in a trembling voice to its children, Come away, my dears, it is high time you were all in bed. On various pretexts, they all moved off, and Alice was soon left alone. Alice, you sweet dear, you have done it again. You managed to offend literally every living creature in sight, unintentionally by talking about your cat. Cat stream when? I don't know, if she on... I mean, I've got a kitty currently sitting on a chair across the way, quite comfortable. She is passed out in the most luxurious and ladylike of poses. So, sort of a cat stream. Sort of a cat's dream. I wish I hadn't mentioned Dinah, she said to herself in a melancholy tone. Nobody seems to like her down here, and I'm sure she's the best cat in the world. Oh, my dear Dinah, I wonder if I shall ever see you any more. And here poor Alice began to cry again, for she felt very lonely and low-spirited. In a little while, however, she again heard a little pattering of footsteps in the distance, and she looked up eagerly, half hoping that the mouse had changed his mind and was coming back to finish his story. No, he is not, Alice. Alrighty. Chapter 4. The Rabbit Sends in a Little Bill. It was the White Rabbit, trotting slowly back again and looking anxiously about as it went, as if it had lost something, and she heard it muttering to itself, the Duchess, oh my dear paws, oh my fur and whiskers, she'll get me executed as sure as ferrets are ferrets. Where can I have dropped them, I wonder? Alice guessed in a moment that it was looking for the fan and the pair of white kid gloves, and she very good-naturedly began hunting about for them. But they were nowhere to be seen. Everything seemed to have changed since her swim in the pool, and the great hall, with the glass table and little door, had vanished completely. Very soon the rabbit noticed Alice as she went hunting about, and called out to her in an angry tone. Why, Marianne! What are you doing out here? Run home this moment and fetch me a pair of gloves and a fan, quick now! And Alice was so much frightened that she ran off at once in the direction it pointed to, without trying to explain the mistake that it had made. He took me for his housemaid, she said to herself as she ran. How surprised he'll be when he finds out who I am. Ooh, apologize, little burp. How surprised he'll be when he finds out who I am. But I'd better take him his fan and gloves, that is if I can find them. As she said this, she came upon a neat little house on the door of which was a bright brass plate with the name W. Rabbit engraved upon it. She went in without knocking and hurried upstairs in a great fear lest she should meet the real Marianne and be turned out of the house before she had found the fan and gloves. Sorry, little cough. I'm not used to talking and reading this much in one go. My throat does not know what to do with it. But it will survive, for we must continue with Alice in Wonderland. How queer it seems, Alice said to herself, to be going messages for a rabbit. I shall suppose Dinah will be sending me on messages next. And she began fancying the sort of thing that would happen. Miss Alice, come here directly and get ready for your walk. Coming in a minute, nurse. But I've got to watch this mouse hole till Dinah comes back and see that the mouse doesn't get out. Only I don't think, Alice went on, that they'd let Dinah stop in the house if it began ordering people around like that. Ordering people about like that. Words. By this time, she had found her way into a tidy little room with a table in the window, and on it, as she had hoped, a fan and 2 or 3 pairs of tiny white kid gloves. She took up the fan and a pair of gloves, and was just going to leave the room when her eye fell upon a little bottle that stood near the looking-glass. There was no label this time with the words "Drink me," but nevertheless she uncorked it and put it on her lips. I know something interesting is sure to happen, she said to herself, whenever I eat or drink anything. So I'll just see what this bottle does. I do hope it'll make me grow large again, for really I am quite tired of being such a tiny little thing. I feel that, Alice. I feel that. Sadly, there are no eat me or drink me things that make you grow smaller or taller. It did so indeed, and much sooner than she had expected, for she had drunk half the bottle. She found her head pressing against the ceiling, and had to stoop to save her neck from being broken. She hastily put down the bottle, saying to herself, "That's quite enough. I hope I shan't grow any more. As it is, I can't get out the door. I do wish I hadn't drunk quite so much." Alas, it was too late to wish that. She went on growing, and very soon had to kneel down on the floor. In another minute there was not even room for this, and she tried the effect of lying down with one elbow against the door and the other arm curled around her head, still she went on growing, and, as a last resource, she put one arm out of the window and one foot up the chimney, and said to herself, "Now I can do no more. Whatever happens, what will become of me?" Luckily for Alice, the little magic bottle had now had its full effect, and she grew no larger. Still, it was very uncomfortable, and, as there seemed to be no sort of chance of her ever getting out of the room again, no wonder she felt unhappy. It was such a pleasanter at home. I'm dumb. It was much pleasanter at home, thought poor Alice, when one wasn't always growing larger and smaller and being ordered about by mice and rabbits. I almost wish I hadn't gone down that rabbit hole, and yet, it's rather curious, you know, this sort of life. I do wonder what can have happened to me. When I used to read fairy tales, I fancied that kind of thing never happened, and now here I am in the middle of one. There ought to be a book written about me, that there ought, and when I grow up, I'll write one. But I'm grown up now, she added in a sorrowful tone. At least, there's no room to grow up any more here. Oh, Alice, if only you knew, if only you knew. But then, thought Alice, I shall never get any older than I am now. That'll be a comfort one way. Never to be an old woman, but then, always to have lessons to learn. Oh, I shouldn't like that. Oh, you foolish Alice, she answered herself. How can you learn lessons in here? Why, there's hardly room for you, and no room at all for any lesson books.
Stretch the legs.
And so she went on, taking first one side and then the other, and making quite a conversation of it altogether. But after a few minutes, she heard a voice outside and stopped to listen. "Marianne! Marianne!" said the voice. "Fetch me my gloves this moment." Then came a little pattering of feet on the stairs. Alice knew it was the rabbit coming to look for her, and she trembled till she shook the house, quite forgetting that she was now 1,000 times as large as the rabbit, and had no reason to be afraid of it. Presently, the rabbit came up to the door and tried to open it, but as the door opened inwards and Alice's elbow was pressed hard against it, that attempt proved a failure. Alice heard it say to itself, "Then I'll go round and get in at the window." "That you won't," thought Alice, and after waiting till she fancied she heard the rabbit just under the window, she suddenly spread out her hand and made a snatch in the air. She did not get hold of anything, but she heard a little shriek and a fall, and a crash of broken glass, from which she concluded that it was just possible that it forgive me. From which she concluded that it was just possible it had fallen into a cumber frame or something of the sort. Next came an angry voice, the rabbit's. "Pat, Pat, where are you?" And then a voice she had never heard before. "Sure, then I'm here." "Digging for apples, your honor." "Digging for apples, indeed," said the rabbit angrily. "Here, come and help me out of this." Sounds of more broken glass. "Now tell me, Pat, what's that in the window?" "Sure, it's an arm, your honor." He pronounced it arum. "Oh. An arm, you goose! Whoever saw one that size?" "Why, it fills the whole window." "Sure it does, your honor, but it's an arum for all that." "Well, it's got no business there, at any rate. Go and take it away." There was a long silence after this, and Alice could only hear whispers now and then, such as, "Sure, I don't like it, your honor, at all. Do as I tell you, you coward." And at last she spread out her hand again, and made another snatch in the air. This time there were 2 little shrieks, and more sounds of broken glass. What a number of cumber frames there must be, thought Alice. I wonder what they'll do next. As for pulling me out of the window, I only wish they could. I'm sure I don't want to stay in here any longer. She waited for some time without hearing anything. At last came a rumbling of little cartwheels, and the sound of a good many voices all talking together. She made out the words, "Where's the other ladder? Why, I hadn't brought one out. Bill's got the other. Bill, fetch it here, lad. Here, put 'em up at this corner. No, tie 'em together first. They don't reach half height enough yet. Oh, they'll do well enough. Don't be particular. Here, Bill, catch hold of this rope. Will the rope Will the roof bear? Mind that loose slate. Oh, it's coming down. Heads below. A loud crash. Now who did that? It was Bill, I fancy. Who's to go down the chimney? Nay, I shan't. You do it. That I won't, then. Bill's got to go down there. Here, Bill. The master says you've got to go down the chimney. Oh, so Bill's got to come down the chimney, has he? Said Alice to herself. Why, they seem to put everything upon Bill. I wouldn't be in Bill's place for a good deal. This fireplace is narrow, to be sure, but I think I can kick a little.
Sorry, I'm taking so many water breaks. I'm not used to this.
She drew her...
Wrong pipe.
She drew her foot as far down the chimney as she could, and waited till she heard a little animal. She couldn't guess what sort it was, scratching and scrambling about in the chimney close above her. Then, saying to herself, "This is Bill," she gave one sharp kick and waited to see what would happen next. The first thing she heard was a general chorus of, "There goes Bill!" and then the rabbit's voice alone, "Catch him! You by the hedge!" Then silence, and then another confusion of voices. "Hold up his head. Brandy, now, don't choke him." "How was it, old fellow? What happened to you? Tell us about it." Last came a little feeble squeaking voice. "That's Bill," thought Alice. "Well, I hardly know. No more, thank ye. I'm better now. But I'm a deal too flustered to tell you. All I know is something comes at me like a jack-in-the-box, and up I goes like a skyrocket." "So you did, old fellow," said the others. "We must burn the house down," said the rabbit's voice, and Alice called out as loud as she could, "If you do, I'll set Dinah at you." There was a dead silence instantly, and Alice thought to herself, "I wonder what they will do next. If they had any sense, they'd take the roof off." After a minute or two, they began moving about again, and Alice heard the rabbit say, "A barrelful will do to begin with." A barrelful of what? Thought Alice. But she had not long to doubt, for the next moment a shower of little pebbles came rattling in at the window, and some of them hit her in the face. "I'll put a stop to this," she said to herself, and shouted out, "You'd better not do that again," which produced another dead silence. Alice noticed with some surprise that the pebbles were all turning into little cakes as they lay on the floor, and a bright idea came into her head. "If I eat one of these cakes," she thought, "it's sure to make some change in my size, and as I can't possibly make me larger, it must make me smaller, I suppose."
Alright.
So she swallowed one of the cakes and was delighted to find that she began shrinking directly. As soon as she was small enough to get through the door, she ran out of the house and found quite a crowd of little animals and birds waiting outside. The poor little lizard Bill was in the middle of being held up by 2 guinea pigs who were giving it something out of a bottle. They all made a rush at Alice the moment she appeared, but she ran off as hard as she could and soon found herself in a safe, thick wood. "The first thing I've got to do," said Alice to herself as she wandered about the wood, "is to grow to my right size again. And the second thing is to find my way into that lovely garden. I think that will be the best plan." Ah, Alice, mind's still on the garden. She's determined, I'll give her that one. It sounded an excellent plan, no doubt, and very neatly and simply arranged. The only difficulty was that she had not the smallest idea how to set about it. And while she was peering about anxiously among the trees, a little sharp bark just over her head made her look up in a great hurry. An enormous puppy was looking down at her with large round eyes, and feebly stretching out one paw trying to touch her. "Poor little thing," said Alice in a coaxing tone, as she tried hard to whistle to it, but she was terribly frightened all the time at the thought that it might be hungry, in which case it would be very likely to eat her up in spite of all her coaxing. Hardly knowing what she did, she picked up a little bit of a stick and held it out to the puppy, whereupon the puppy jumped into the air off all its feet at once, with a yelp of delight, and rushed at the stick, and made believe to worry it. Then Alice dodged behind a great thistle, to keep her from being run over, and the moment she appeared on the other side, the puppy made another rush at the stick and tumbled head over heels in its hurry to get a hold of it. Then Alice, thinking it was very like having a game of play with the cart horse, and expecting every moment to be trampled under its feet, ran round the thistle again. Then the puppy began a series of short charges at the stick, running a very little way forwards each time and a long way back, and barking hoarsely all the while. Till at last it sat down a good way off, panting, with its tongue hanging out of its mouth and its great eyes half shut. This seemed to Alice a good opportunity for making her escape. So she set off at once and ran till she was quite tired and out of breath, until the puppy's bark sounded quite faint in the distance. "And yet, what a dear little puppy it was," said Alice, as she leant against the buttercup to rest herself, and fanned herself with one of the leaves. "I should have liked teaching it tricks very much, if only I'd been the right size to do it. Oh dear, I'd nearly forgotten that I've got to grow up again. Let me see, how is it to be managed? I suppose I ought to eat or drink something or other, but the great question is what? Speaking of drinking, more water. The great question certainly was what? Alice looked around her at the flowers and the blades of grass, but she could not see anything that looked like the right thing to eat or drink under the circumstances. There was a large mushroom growing near her and about the same height as herself, and when she had looked under it, and on both sides of it, and behind it, it occurred to her that she might as well look and see what it was on top of it. She stretched herself up on tiptoe and peeped over the edge of the mushrooms, and her eyes immediately met those of a large blue caterpillar that was sitting on top with its arms folded quietly, smoking a long hookah and taking not the smallest notice of her or of anything else. Ooh, we've hit the caterpillar. Forgive me for taking so many water breaks, but this is a lot of talking. Alrighty, Chapter 5. Advice from a Caterpillar. Nothing could possibly go wrong here. The caterpillar and Alice looked at each other for some time in silence. At last, the caterpillar took the hookah out of his mouth and addressed her in a languid, sleepy voice. "Who are you?" said the caterpillar. This was not an encouraging opening for a conversation, Alice replied, rather shyly. I hardly know, sir. Just at present, at least I know who I was when I got up this morning, but I think I must have changed several times since then. Yeah, I'm doing that, Belle. Thank you. Yes. All of the water and stay hydrated. How do freaking professional, audiobook people do this? It's insane. I give them kudos for this, because, oh boy, howdy. "What do you mean by that?" said the caterpillar sternly. "Explain yourself." "I can't explain myself, I'm afraid, sir," said Alice, "because I'm not myself, you see." "I don't see," said the caterpillar. "I'm afraid I can't put it more clearly," Alice replied very politely, "for I can't understand it myself, to begin with, and being so many different sizes in a day is very confusing." "It isn't," said the caterpillar. "Well, perhaps you haven't found it so yet," said Alice, "but when you have to turn into a chrysalis, you will someday, you know. And then, after that, into a butterfly. I should think you'll feel a little queer, won't you?" "Not a bit," said the caterpillar. "Well, perhaps your feelings may be different," said Alice. "All I know is it would feel very queer to me." "You," said the caterpillar contemptuously. "Who are you?" Which brought them back again to the beginning of the conversation. Alice felt a little irritated at the caterpillar's making such a very short remarks, and she drew herself up and said very gravely, "I think you ought to tell me who you are first." "Why?" said the caterpillar. Here was another puzzling question, and, as Alice could not think of any good reason, and the caterpillar seemed to be in a very unpleasant state of mind, she turned away. "Come back," said the caterpillar called out to her. "I've something important to say." This sounded promising. Certainly, Alice turned and came back again. "Keep your temper," said the caterpillar. "Is that all?" said Alice, swallowing down her anger as well as she could. No, said the caterpillar. Alice thought she might as well wait, as she had nothing else to do. And perhaps, after all, it might tell her something worth hearing. For some minutes it puffed away without speaking, but at last it unfolded its arms, took the hookah out of its mouth again, and said, "So you think you're changed, do you?" "I'm afraid I am, sir," said Alice. "I can't remember things as I used, and I don't keep the same size for 10 minutes together." "Can't remember what things?" said the caterpillar. "Well, I've tried to say, how doth the little busy bee, but it came all different," Alice replied in a very melancholy voice. "Repeat. You are old, Father William," said the caterpillar. Give me a moment, Mr. Caterpillar. I will repeat. Alice folded her hands and began. "You are old, Father William," the young man said, "and your hair has become very white, and yet you insistently stand on your head. Do you think at your age it is right?" "In my youth," Father William replied to his son, "I feared it might injure the brain. But now that I'm perfectly sure I have none, why, I do it again and again." "You are old," said the youth, "as I mentioned before, and have grown most uncommonly fat. Yet you turned a back somersault in at the door. Pray, what is the reason of that?" "In my youth," said the sage, as he shook his grey locks, "I kept all my limbs very supple. By the use of this ointment, 1 shilling the box, allow me to sell you a couple." "You are old," said the youth, "and your jaws are too weak for anything tougher than suits. That's a new one. Yet you finished the goose with the bones and the beak. Pray, how did you manage to do it?" "In my youth," said his father, "I took to the law and argued each case with my wife, and the muscular strength which it gave to my jaw has lasted the rest of my life." "You are old," said the youth. "One would hardly suppose that your eye was as steady as ever. Yet you balanced an eel on the end of your nose. What made you so awfully clever?" "I have answered 3 questions, and that is enough," said his father. "Don't give yourself airs. Do you think I can listen all day to such stuff? Be off, or I'll kick you downstairs." Well then, that was a story and a half. "That's not quite right," said the caterpillar. "Not quite right, I'm afraid," said Alice timidly. "Some of the words have got altered." "It is wrong from beginning to end," said the caterpillar decidedly, and there was silence for some minutes. The caterpillar was the first to speak. "What size do you want to be?" it asked. "Oh, I'm not particular as to size," Alice hastily replied. "Only one doesn't like changing so often, you know." "I don't know," said the caterpillar. Alice said nothing. She had never been so much contradicted in all her life before, and she felt that she was losing her temper. "Are you content now?" said the caterpillar. "Well, I should like to be a little larger, sir, if you wouldn't mind," said Alice. 3 inches is such a wretched height to be." "It is a very good height indeed," said the caterpillar angrily, rearing itself up as it spoke. It was exactly 3 inches high. And Alice, once again, insulting everybody unintentionally. "But I'm not used to it," pleaded poor Alice in a piteous tone, and she thought to herself, "I wish the creatures wouldn't be so easily offended." I'm sorry, this is gonna be bad. But Alice, honey, welcome to the internet. Oh boy, I'm sorry. I'll continue. I've been thinking that for a while, and I wanted to get that little joke out. Okay. "You'll get used to it in time," said the caterpillar, and it put the hookah in its mouth and began smoking again. I wonder how quickly modern day Alice would be canceled. At the rate she's going, she's not doing so hot. She's really not. Every creature she's met up until this point, she's offended. So it's not turning out well for her. This time, Alice waited patiently until it chose to speak again. In a minute or two, the caterpillar took the hookah out of its mouth and yawned once or twice and shook itself. Then it got down off the mushroom and crawled away into the grass, merely remarking as it went, "One side will make you grow taller, and the other side will make you grow shorter." "One side of what? The other side of what?" thought Alice to herself. "Of the mushroom," said the caterpillar, just as if she had asked it aloud, and in another moment it was out of sight. Yes, meow. The internet is a weird place. And yet, here we all are. Alice remained looking thoughtfully at the mushroom for a minute, trying to make out which were the two sides of it, and as it was perfectly round, she found this a very difficult question. However, at last she stretched her arms around it as far as they would go, and broke off a bit of the edge with each hand. "And now which is which?" she said to herself, and nibbled a little of the right hand bit to try the effect. The next moment she felt a violent blow underneath her chin. It had struck her foot. She was a good deal frightened by this very sudden change, but she felt that there was no time to be lost, as she was shrinking rapidly, so she set to work at once to eat some of the other bit. Her chin was pressed so closely against her foot that there was hardly room to open her mouth, but she did it at last and managed to swallow a morsel of the left-hand bit. "Come, my head's free at last," said Alice in a tone of delight, which changed into alarm in another moment when she found that her shoulders were nowhere to be found. All she could see, when she looked down, was an immense length of neck, which seemed to rise like a stalk out of the sea of green leaves that lay far below her. Maybe next time I should bring some tea. Tea should be a good thing. Tea and water next time. Tea and water. "What can all that green stuff be?" said Alice. "And where have my shoulders got to? And oh, my poor hands, how is it I can't see you?" She was moving them about as she spoke, but no result seemed to follow, except a little shaking among the distant leaves. As there seemed to be no chance of getting her hands up to her head, she tried to get her head down to them, and was delighted to find that her neck would bend about as easily in any direction, like a serpent. She had just succeeded in curving it down into a graceful zigzag, and was going to dive in among the leaves when she found to be nothing but the tops of the trees under which she had been wandering when a sharp hiss made her draw back in a hurry. A large pigeon had flown into her face and was beating her violently with its wings. Rude pigeon. You're probably getting you're gonna get a girlfriend. Congrats. That's awesome. I hope you two are happy. I wish you the best of luck. It's always nice when you find somebody. "Serpent!" screamed the pigeon. "I'm not a serpent," said Alice indignantly. "Let me alone." "Serpent, I say again," repeated the pigeon, but in a more subdued tone, and added, with a kind of sob, "I've tried every way, but nothing seems to suit them." "I haven't the least idea what you're talking about," said Alice. Gotta head out for a nail appointment. I'll leave the stream up. Awesome! Thanks, Zax. You have fun at your nail appointment. I don't know what you're doing. Are you getting your nails done? You can tell me later. But best of luck, and thanks for leaving the stream open. Thank you. I will be seeing you later then. Have a good day. Bye! I've tried the roots of trees, and I've tried banks, I've tried hedges, said the pigeon went on without attending to her. But those serpents, there's no pleasing them. Alice was more and more puzzled, but she thought there was no use in saying anything more till the pigeon had finished. "As if it wasn't trouble enough hatching the eggs," said the pigeon, "but I must be on the lookout for serpents day and night. Why haven't I had a wink of sleep these 3 weeks? I feel like a lot of streamers relate to this one. I've noticed that quite a few people have some sleeping issues. It saddens me greatly, and I hope people get some sleep and rest their eyes, because, oh, you guys need it. You work so hard. Please get sleep. I'm very sorry you've been annoyed, said Alice, who was beginning to see its meaning. And just as I'd taken the highest tree of the wood, continued the pigeon, raising its voice to a shriek, and just as I was thinking I should be free of them at last, they must needs come wriggling down from the sky. Oh, serpent! But I'm not a serpent, I tell you, said Alice. Well, what are you? Said the pigeon. I can see you're trying to invent something. I'm a little girl, said Alice rather doubtfully, as she remembered the number of changes she had gone through that day. A likely story indeed, said the pigeon in a tone of deepest contempt. I've seen a good many little girls in my time, but never one with such a neck as that. No, no, you are a serpent, and there's no use denying it. I suppose you'll be telling me next that you've never tasted an egg. I have tasted an egg, certainly, said Alice, who was a very truthful child. But little girls eat eggs quite as much as serpents do, you know. And Alice has once again done it. But I feel her on the needlessly truthful part. I feel that, but I think we need to start up a counter for how many creatures Alice has offended so far, because it's getting up there. I don't believe it, said the pigeon. But if they do, why, then they're a kind of serpent. That's all I can say. Toaster time hashtag canceled. Yeah. This was such a new idea to Alice that she was quite silent for a minute or two, which gave the pigeon the opportunity of adding, You're looking for eggs, I know that well enough. And what does it matter to me whether you're a little girl or a serpent? It matters a good deal to me, said Alice hastily, but I'm not looking for eggs, as it happens, and if I was, I shouldn't want yours. I don't like them raw. This is what, 5 or 6? Well, let us see. We've got, she first landed. She hasn't really had time to insult the rabbit, so we're not counting that one yet. It was the mouse, and it was the dodo, Lori, the eaglet, the Lori, the eaglet, the crab. Well, there's a pigeon now. She's getting up there because there was quite a few animals in that giant, like, bunch. The, like, canaries and a magpie. That's, like, 8. The caterpillars, 9. Yeah. She insulted the mouse, like, multiple times. She's, like, at the very least up to, like, 9 things she's insulted. And she probably hasn't even been in, like, the Wonderland area for, like, an hour, maybe. She's not doing so hot. Well, be off then, said the pigeon in a sulky tone, as it settled down into its nest. Alice crouched down among the trees as well as she could, for her net kept getting entangled among the branches, and every now and then she had to stop and untwist it. After a while, she remembered that she still held the pieces of mushroom in her hands, and she set to work very carefully, nibbling at first at one, and then at the other, and growing sometimes taller and sometimes shorter, until she had succeeded in bringing herself down to her usual height. It was so long since she had been anything near the right size that it felt quite strange at first, but she got used to it in a few minutes and began talking to herself as usual. Come, there's half my plan done now. How puzzling all these changes are. I'm never sure what I'm going to be, from one minute to another. However, I've got back to my right size. The next thing is to get into that beautiful garden. How is that to be done, I wonder? As she said this, she came suddenly upon an open place, with a little house in it about 4 feet high. Whoever lives here, thought Alice, it'll never do to come upon them this size. Why, I should frighten them out of their wits. So she began nibbling at the right hand a bit again, and did not venture to go near the house till she had brought herself down to 9 inches high. Oh, boy.
Oh. Boy. I'm gonna stand up for a stretch for a moment. Oh, God. Stretch the legs. Ugh. Stretch.
Alrighty. How many chapters are in this out of curiosity? We're making 12 chapters. We're on chapter 6. So, alrighty. I figure once we we finish with chapter 6, that should be a good stopping point. Ooh, what the mad tea party sticks.
We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. Okay. Chapter 6. Pig and Pepper. For a minute or two, she stood looking at the house and wondering what to do next, when suddenly a footman in livery came running out of the wood. She considered him to be a footman because he was in livery. Otherwise, judging by his face only, she would have called him a fish, and rapped loudly at the door with his knuckles. It was opened by another footman in livery. I think it's livery. I think I'm horribly mispronouncing that. I think it's livery. Let's do a livery. With a round face and large eyes like a frog, and both footmen, Alice noticed, had powdered hair that curled all over their heads. She felt very curious to know what it was all about, and crept a little way out of the wood to listen. The fish footman began by producing from under his arm a great letter, nearly as large as himself, and this he handed over to the other, saying in a solemn tone, "For the Duchess, an invitation from the Queen to play croquet." The frog footman repeated it in the same solemn tone, only changing the order of the words a little, "From the Queen, an invitation for the Duchess to play croquet." Then they both bowed low, and their curls got entangled together. Alice laughed so much at this that she had to run back into the wood for fear of their hearing her, and when she next peeped out, the fish footman was gone, and the other was sitting on the ground near the door, staring stupidly up into the sky. Alice went timidly up to the door and knocked. "There's no sort of use in knocking," said the footman, "and that's for 2 reasons. First, because I'm on the same side of the door as you are. Secondly, because they are making such a noise inside, no one could possibly hear you." And certainly there was a most extraordinary noise going on within, a constant howling and sneezing, and every now and then a great crash, as if a dish or a kettle had been broken into pieces. "Please then," said Alice, "how am I to get in?" "There might be some sense in your knocking," the footman went on, without attending to her, "if we had the door between us. For instance, if you were inside, you might knock, and I could let you out, you know." He was looking up into the sky all the time he was speaking, and this Alice thought decidedly uncivil. "But perhaps he can't help it," said Alice to herself. "His eyes are so very near at the top of his head. But at any rate, he might answer questions. How am I to get in?" she repeated aloud. "I shall sit here," said the footman remarked, "till tomorrow." At this moment, the door of the house opened, and a large plate came skimming out, straight at the footman's head, just as it grazed his nose and broke to pieces against one of the trees behind him. "Or next day, maybe," the footman continued in the same tone, exactly as if nothing had happened. "How am I to get in?" asked Alice again, in a louder tone. "Are you to get in at all?" said the footman. "That's the first question, you know." It was no doubt, only Alice did not like to be told so. "It's really dreadful," she muttered to herself, "the way all of the creatures argue. It's enough to drive one crazy." The footman seemed to think this a good opportunity for repeating his remark with variations. "I shall sit here," he said, "on and off for days and days." "But what am I to do?" said Alice. "Anything you like," said the footman, and began whistling.
Way.
"Oh, there's no use in talking to him," said Alice desperately. "He's perfectly idiotic." And she opened the door and went in. The door led right into a large kitchen, which was full of smoke from one end to another. The Duchess was sitting on a 3-legged stool in the middle, nursing a baby. The cook was leaning over the fire, stirring a large cauldron which seemed to be full of soup. There's certainly too much pepper in that soup, Alice said to herself, as well as she could for sneezing. There's certainly too much of it in the air. Even the Duchess sneezed occasionally, and as for the baby, he was sneezing and howling alternately, without a moment's pause. The only two creatures in the kitchen that did not sneeze were the cook and a large cat, which was lying on the hearth and grinning from ear to ear. Ooh, I think we know what cat this is. Please, would you tell me, said Alice a little timidly, for she was not quite sure whether it was good manners for her to speak first, why your cat grins like that? It's a Cheshire cat, said the Duchess, and that's why. Pig! She said the word with such sudden violence that Alice quite jumped, but she saw in another moment that it was addressed to the baby, and not to her, so she took courage and went on again. I didn't know that Cheshire cats always grinned. In fact, I didn't know that cats could grin. They all can, said Duchess, and most of them do. I don't know any that do that, said Alice very politely, feeling quite pleased to have gotten into a conversation. Oh dear, Alice, we know nothing good ever happens when you enter a conversation. You don't know much, said the Duchess, and that's a fact. Alice did not at all like the tone of this remark, and thought it would be as well to introduce some other subject of conversation. While she was trying to fix on one, the cook took the cauldron of soup off the fire, and at once set to work throwing everything within her reach at the Duchess and the baby. The fire irons came first, then followed a shower of saucepans, plates, and dishes. The Duchess took no notice of them, even when they hit her, and the baby was howling so much already that it was quite impossible to say whether the blows hurt it or not. Oh, please mind what you're doing, cried Alice, jumping up and down in an agony of terror. Oh, there goes his precious nose! As an unusually large saucepan flew close by it and very nearly carried it off. If everybody minded their own business, the Duchess said in a hoarse growl, the world would go round a deal faster than it does. Which would not be an advantage, said Alice, who felt very glad to get an opportunity of showing off a little of her knowledge. Just think what work it would make. With the day and night. You see, the Earth takes 24 hours to turn round on its axis. Talking of axes, said the Duchess, chop off her head. Alice glanced rather anxiously at the cook to see if she meant to take the hint, but the cook was busily stirring the soup and seemed to not be listening, so she went on again. 24 hours, I think. Or is it 12? Oh, don't bother me, said the Duchess. I never could abide figures. And with that, she began nursing her child again, singing a sort of lullaby to it as she did so, and giving it a violent shake at the end of every line. Mother of the year.
Oh, good Lord.
Alrighty. Speak roughly to your little boy and beat him when he sneezes. He only does it to annoy because he know it teases. I don't know if that's the tune. That's the tune I came up with, so that's what we're going with. Chorus, in which the cook and the baby joined. Wow, wow, wow! Nailed it. While the Duchess sang the second verse of the song, she kept tossing the baby violently up and down, and the poor little thing howled so that Alice could hardly hear the words. I speak severely to my boy, I beat him when he sneezes, for he can thoroughly enjoy the pepper when he pleases. Wow, wow, wow! Here, you may nurse it a bit if you like, the Duchess said to Alice, flinging the baby at her as she spoke. I must go and get ready to play croquet with the Queen. And she hurried out of the room. The cook threw a frying pan after her as she went, but it just missed her. Alice caught the baby with some difficulty, as it was a queer-shaped little creature, and held out its arms and legs in all directions. Just like a starfish, thought Alice. The poor little thing was snorting like a steam engine when she caught it, and it kept doubling itself up and straightening itself out again, so that altogether, for the first minute or two, it was as much as she could do to hold it. As soon as she made out the proper way of nursing it, which was to twist it up like a sort of knot and then keep tight hold of its right ear and left foot so as to prevent it undoing itself. I'm very curious about this baby. Ooh, time to destroy some street races? Ooh, have fun, have fun. We are currently dealing with beaten baby. Never thought I'd say that one. She carried it out into the open air. If I don't take this child away with me, thought Alice, they're sure to kill it in a day or two. Wouldn't it be murder to leave it behind? She said the last words out loud, and the little thing grunted in reply. If it had left off sneezing by this time. Don't grunt, said Alice. That's not at all a proper way of expressing yourself. The baby grunted again, and Alice looked very anxious into its face to see what was the matter with it. There could be no doubt that it had a very turned-up nose, much more like a snout than a real nose. Also, its eyes were getting extremely small for a baby. Altogether, Alice did not like the look of the thing at all. But perhaps it was only sobbing, she thought, and looked into its eyes again to see if there were tears. There were any tears. No, there were no tears. If you're going to turn into a pig, my dear, said Alice seriously, I'll have nothing more to do with you. Mind now. The poor little thing sobbed again, or grunted. It was impossible to say which. And they went on for some while in silence. Alice was just beginning to think to herself, now, what am I to do with this creature when I get it home? When it grunted again so violently that she looked down into its face in some alarm. This time there could be no mistake about it. It was neither more nor less than a pig, and she felt that it would be quite absurd for her to carry it any further. So she set the little creature down and felt quite relieved to see it trot away quietly into the wood. If it had grown up, she said to herself, it would have made a dreadfully ugly child. But it makes a rather handsome pig, I think. And she began thinking over the other children she knew, who might very well do as pigs. And was just saying to herself, if one only knew the right way to change them. When she was a little startled by seeing the Cheshire Cat sitting on a bough of a tree, a few yards off. Alice, oh my God, you are so mean to the other children that you know, my God. Oh boy. The cat only grinned when it saw Alice. It looked good-natured, she thought. Still, it had very long claws and a great many teeth, so she felt that it ought to be treated with respect. Cheshire Puss, she began, rather timidly, as she did not know at all whether it would like the name. However, it only grinned a little wider. Come, it's pleased so far, thought Alice. She went on. Would you tell me, please, which way I ought to go from here? That depends a good deal on where you want to get to, said the cat. I don't much care where, said Alice. Then it doesn't matter which way you go, said the cat. So long as I get somewhere, added Alice as an explanation. Oh, you're sure to do that, said the cat, if you only walk long enough. Alice felt that this could not be denied, so she tried another question. What sort of people live about here? In that direction, said the cat, waving its right paw around, lives a hatter, and in that direction, waving the other paw, lives a March hare. Visit either you like, they're both mad. But I don't want to go among mad people, Alice remarked. Oh, you can't help that, said the cat. We're all mad here. I'm mad, you're mad. And that is my favorite quote of the book. Shocker, I know, but I love the quote, we're all mad here, because I feel it, and I love it. So, there you go. Out of curiosity, does anyone else have any, favorite, lines and stuff from Alice in Wonderland? Obviously not from the book if you haven't read it, but, the movie or just from different games or inspirations from Alice in Wonderland? I'm curious. Let me know. I say as I drink another thing of water, and I am gonna have to go to the bathroom so bad after this. How do you know I'm mad, said Alice. You must be, said the cat, or you wouldn't have come here. Alice didn't think that proved it at all, however, she went on. And how do you know that you're mad? To begin with, said the cat, A dog's not mad. You grant that? I suppose so, said Alice. Well then, the cat went on, you see, a dog growls when it's angry and wags its tail when it's pleased. Now I growl when I'm pleased and wag my tail when I'm angry. Therefore, I'm mad. You're a big fan of the Madness Returns game, but no lines. No, same. I love the American McGee Alice games. They're so great. I love the designs, and it's fantastic. It pleases my little horror fan heart. I call it purring, not growling, said Alice. Call it what you like, said the cat. Do you play croquet with the queen today? I should like it very much, said Alice, but I haven't been invited yet. You'll see me there, said the cat, and vanished. Alice was not much surprised at this. She was getting so well used to queer things happening. While she was still looking at the place where it had been, it suddenly appeared again. By the by, what became of the baby, said the cat. I'd nearly forgotten to ask. It turned into a pig, Alice answered very quietly, just as if the cat had come back in a natural way. I thought it would, said the cat, and vanished again. Alice waited a little, half expecting to see it again, but it did not appear, and after a minute or two she walked in on the direction in which the March Hare was said to live. I've seen hatters before, she said to herself. The March Hare will be much the most interesting, and perhaps, as this is May, it won't be raving mad, at least not so mad as it was in March. As she said this, she looked up, and there was the cat again, sitting on the branch of a tree. Did you say pig or fig? Said the cat. I said pig, replied Alice, and I wish you wouldn't keep appearing and vanishing so suddenly. You make one quite giddy. All right, said the cat, and this time it vanished quite slowly, beginning with the end of the tail and ending with the grin, which remained some time after the rest of it had gone. Well, I've often seen a cat without a grin, thought Alice, but a grin without a cat. It's the most curious thing I ever saw in all my life. She had not gone much farther before she came in sight of the house of the March Hare. She thought it must be the right house, because the chimneys were shaped like ears, and the roof was thatched with fur. It was so large a house that she did not like to go nearer till she had nibbled some more off the left-hand bit of the mushroom, and she raised herself up about 2 feet high. Even then she walked up towards it rather timidly, saying to herself, Suppose I should be raving mad after all. I almost wish I had gone to see the Hatter instead. Ooh, we know what time it is. But before that, where did my bookmark go? Come back here. Gonna take a little potty break because I've been drinking a lot of water. So this will be a good time to stretch your legs, take a little break. Be back, and we're gonna hop into the Mad Tea Party. And we'll see where we go after that point. So, I will be back. See you in a bit. Alrighty. And we are back. Alrighty. And we're back. Ugh. Hope everyone's stretched out. Little potty break. Ugh. Alright. I figure we will, because next chapter is chapter 7, a Mad Tea Party. Don't want to end there, so I figure we will read the Mad Tea Party, and then we will, stop off for this stream, and then we can continue, next time. Because my throat is getting tired, and we're actually at a good running time, which I am surprised about. I was like, oh no, how is this gonna work? Oh, thanks for the follow, Toothbrush. Hey, welcome. Glad of you to pop in. If you've been, yeah, this is awesome. You just made it in time. We're gonna be reading the Mad Tea Parties now. We've hit that chapter. I didn't want to end it before then because who doesn't love the Mad Tea Party? Probably one of the more iconic bits about Alice in Wonderland, so. Perfect timing. I hope everyone else is back. I'm going to start up again. Yee! Wait. Hello. So. The cops were after... Meow, what did you do? Why were the cops after you? Was it the street races? Did you go a little too fast and too furious? Tisk, tisk, tisk. You know, if you don't have your family with you, it won't turn out. You don't get a free pass. You need your Vin Diesels, you need your family. You need your Doms. Illegal night races. What am I gonna do with you? Please tell me you're joking, by the way. I don't. I'm now actually a little slightly concerned. I'm praying you are joking, but at the same time, I am concerned. Oh, it's the game you're playing. All right, cool. I was like, meow. Meow, please tell me. Cool. But nah. So are you playing like GTA or? I'm curious. I am curious now as to what game you're playing. I'm assuming it's GTA since that's usually the ones where there's driving and night races and cops come after you. You don't have your permit yet. All the more reason the cops might potentially be after you for participating in illegal night races. That's just like adding insult to injury. Need for Speed. Okay, cool. Well, let us continue on then to the Mad Tea Party. Alrighty. There was a table set out under a tree in front of the house, and the March Hare and the Hatter were having tea at it. A dormouse was sitting between them, fast asleep, and the other two were using it as a cushion, resting their elbows on it and talking over its head. Very uncomfortable for the dormouse, thought Alice. Only as it's asleep, I suppose it doesn't mind. You're a big car guy, Meow? Nice. Cars are not really my forte. I mean, like, I know names of cars. I want a Shelby Cobra, but the only reason I know that's a thing is from a manga. If you're familiar with Gunsmith Cats, that's literally the only reason I know the name of that car and I want it. That's about it. I'm not gonna lie. The table was a large one, but the three were all crowded together at one corner. No room, they cried out when they saw Alice coming. There's plenty of room, said Alice indignantly, and she sat down in a large armchair at the end of the table. Have some wine, the March Hare said in an encouraging tone. Alice looked all around the table, but there was nothing on it but tea. I don't see any wine, she remarked. There isn't any, said the March Hare. Then it wasn't very civil of you to offer it, said Alice angrily. Yeah, Cobra's a nice one. A neighbor of mine at one point had one, and it just, like, looked at it and, like, nice. Very nice. It wasn't very civil of you to sit down without being invited, said the March Hare. I didn't know it was your table, said Alice. It's laid out for a great many more than 3. Your hair wants cutting, said the Hatter. He had been looking at Alice for some time with great curiosity, and this was his first speech. You should learn not to make personal remarks, said Alice with some severity. It's very rude. The Hatter opened his eyes very wide on hearing this, but all he said was, Why is a raven like a writing desk? So tell me, guys, why is a raven like a writing desk? Leaving this open to the floor. Let us see if it matches up with what these guys say. Why is a raven like a writing desk? Come, we shall have some fun now, thought Alice. I'm glad they've begun asking riddles. I believe I can guess that, she added aloud. Do you mean that you think you can find out the answer to it, said the March Hare. Exactly so, said Alice. Then you should say what you mean, the March Hare went on. I do, Alice hastily replied, At least I mean what I say. That's the same thing, you know. Not the same thing a bit, said the Hatter. Why, you might just as well say, I see what I eat, is the same thing as I eat what I see. You might just as well say, added the March Hare, that I like what I get is the same thing as I get what I like. You might just as well say, added the Dormouse, which seemed to be talking in its sleep, that I breathe when I sleep is the same thing as I sleep when I breathe. It is the same thing with you, said the Hatter. And here the conversation dropped, and the party sat silent for a minute, while Alice thought over all she could remember about ravens and writing desks, which wasn't much. The Hatter was the first to break the silence. What day of the month is it? He said, turning to Alice. He had taken his watch out of his pocket, and was looking at it uneasily, shaking it every now and then, and holding it to his ear. Alice considered a little, and then said, The 4th. 2 days wrong, said the Hatter. I told you butter wouldn't suit the works, he added, looking angrily at the March Hare. It was the best butter, March Hare replied meekly replied. Yes, but some crumbs must have gone in as well, the Hatter grumbled. You shouldn't have put it in with the bread knife. The March Hare took the watch and looked at it gloomily. Then he dipped it into his cup of tea and looked at it again. But he could think of nothing better to say than his first remark. It was the best butter, you know. Alice had been looking over his shoulder with some curiosity. What a funny watch, she remarked. It tells the day of the month and doesn't tell what o'clock it is. Why should it? Muttered the Hatter. Does your watch tell you what year it is? Of course not, Alice replied very readily. But that's because it stays the same year for such a long time together. Which is just the case with mine, said the Hatter. Alice felt dreadfully puzzled. The Hatter's remark seemed to her to have no sort of meaning in it, and yet it was certainly English. I don't quite understand you, she said as politely as she could. The Dormouse is asleep again, said the Hatter, and he poured a little hot tea upon its nose. Rude. The Dormouse shook its head impatiently, and said without opening its eyes, Of course, just what I was going to remark myself. Have you guessed the riddle yet? The Hatter said, turning to Alice. No, I give it up, Alice replied. What's the answer? I haven't the slightest idea, said the Hatter. Nor I, said the March Hare. Alice sighed wearily. I think you might do something better with the time, she said, than wasting it in asking riddles that have no answers. If you knew time as well as I do, said the Hatter, you wouldn't talk about wasting it. It's him. about wasting it. It's him. I don't know what you mean, said Alice. Of course you don't, the Hatter said, tossing his head contemptuously. I dare say you never even spoke of time. Perhaps not, Alice cautiously replied. But I know I have to beat time when I learn music. Ah, that accounts for it, said the Hatter. He won't stand beating. Now, if you only kept on good terms with him, he'd do most anything you liked with the clock. For instance, suppose it were 9 o'clock in the morning, just time to begin lessons. You'd only have to whisper a hint to time, and round the clock goes in a twinkling. 1:30, time for dinner. I only wish it was, the March Hare said to itself in a whisper. Hey. You can tell my brain is going. That would be grand, certainly, said Alice thoughtfully. But then I shouldn't be hungry for it, you know. Not at first, perhaps, said the Hatter. But you could keep it to 1:30 as long as you liked. Is that the way you manage? Alice asked. The Hatter shook his head mournfully. Not I, he replied. We quarreled last March, just before he went mad, you know, pointing with his teaspoon at the March Hare. It was at a great concert given by the Queen of Hearts, and I had to sing, Twinkle, twinkle, little bat, how I wonder where you're at. You know the song, perhaps? I've heard something like it, said Alice. It goes on, you know, the Hatter continued, in this way. Up above the world you fly, like a tea tray in the sky, twinkle, twinkle. Here, the Dormouse shook itself and began singing in its sleep, Twinkle, 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 and went on so long that they had to pinch it to make it stop. Well, I'd hardly finished the first verse, said the Hatter, when the Queen bawled out, He's murdering the time! Off with his head! How dreadfully savage! Exclaimed Alice. And ever since that, the Hatter went on in a mournful tone, he won't do a thing I ask. It's always 6 o'clock now. A bright idea came into Alice's head. Is that the reason so many tea things are put out here? She asked. Yes, that's it, said the Hatter with a sigh. It's always tea time, and we've got no time to wash the things between whiles. Then you keep moving round, I suppose, said Alice. Exactly so, said the Hatter, as the things get used up. But what happens when you have to come to the beginning again? Alice ventured to ask. Suppose we change the subject, the March Hare interrupted, yawning. I'm getting tired of this. I vote the young lady tells us a story. I'm afraid I don't know one, said Alice, rather alarmed at the proposal. Then the Dormouse shall, they both cried. Wake up, Dormouse! And they pinched it on both sides at once. I apologize. The Dormouse slowly opened its eyes. I wasn't asleep, it said in a hoarse, feeble voice. I heard every word you fellows were saying. Tell us a story, said the March Hare. Yes, please do, pleaded Alice. And be quick about it, added the Hatter, or you'll be asleep again before it's done. Once upon a time, there were 3 little sisters, the Dormouse began in a great hurry, and their names were Elise, Lacey, and Tilly, and they lived at the bottom of a well. What did they live on? Said Alice, who always took great interest in questions of eating and drinking. They lived on a treacle, said the Dormouse after thinking a minute or two. They couldn't have done that, you know, said Alice gently remarked. They'd have been ill. So they were, said the Dormouse, very ill. Alice tried a little to fancy to herself what such an extraordinary way of living would be like, but it puzzled her too much, so she went on. But why did they live at the bottom of a well? Take some more tea, the March Hare said to Alice very earnestly. I've had nothing yet, Alice replied in an offended tone, so I can't take more. You mean you can't take less, said the Hatter. It's very easy to take more than nothing. Nobody asked your opinion, said Alice. Who's making personal remarks now? The Hatter asked triumphantly. Alice. Silly, silly little girl. Alice did not quite know what to say to this, so she helped herself to some tea, bread and butter, and then turned to the Dormouse and repeated her question. Why did they live at the bottom of a well? The Dormouse again took a minute or two to think about it and then said, It was a treacle well. There's no such thing, Alice was beginning very angrily, but the Hatter and the March Hare went shh.
Oh, what's the follow?
Oh, thank you for the follow, Vic Buck. Thank you. Welcome. Glad you can join. We're currently in the middle of the Mad Tea Party in Alice in Wonderland. I'm glad you can hop on in. Yes, it did go to perfect timing. Was a yeah, that thing. You know what I'm going for. Oh, the bonks. Bonks. I haven't done anything to warrant any bonks yet, so, and I don't think that's going to be happening with this book. So we all Gucci. I don't need the bonks. So how are you doing? How are you doing? Take this moment to drink some water. You're doing good. Awesome. I'm doing good. I'm having fun. My throat is currently going to be protesting with me after this because this is the most I have talked in a hot minute, man. In a hot minute. But I am making sure to stay hydrated and drinking some water and stretching on occasion. Yes. All of the hydration. Sorry, I sniffed the book a little bit. You ever like sniff a book and it just smells so good? Oh, thank you. I'm very happy with it. I'm very happy with the form. I've got in the credits actually the artist who did this for me, and they are amazing, and I love them for this. I cannot love them enough. I lost my shit when I saw this. I was like, yes, this is what I wanted. Alrighty, now where was I? Shushing. They were shushing, and then I got distracted by the tweeting of birds. Shh. I am an interdimensional bird, yes. I use portals to hop through dimensions. But yes, I am a bird. So you are correct. And I'm glad the portal stayed open enough for you to hop on through. Yeah, this is my first time keeping a portal open intentionally this long. Eee. Yeah, I'm glad you're here too. Alrighty. We're almost done with the Mad Tea Party, so unfortunately you were hitting your end stream, but we will continue on. Yes, continue reading. Yes, we'll do. There's no such thing, Alice was beginning very angrily, but the Hatter and the March Hare went shh, and the Dormouse sulkily remarked, "If you can't be civil, you'd better finish the story for yourself." "No, please go on," Alice said very humbly. "I won't interrupt you again. I dare say there may be one." "One indeed," said the Dormouse indignantly. However, he consented to go on. "And so these three little sisters, they were learning to draw, you know." "What did they draw?" said Alice, quite forgetting her promise. "Treacle," said the Dormouse, without considering it at all this time. "I want a clean cut," interrupted the Hatter. "Let's all move one place on." He moved on as he spoke, and the Dormouse followed him. The March Hare moved into the Dormouse's place, and Alice, rather unwillingly, took the place of the March Hare. The Hatter was the only one who got any advantage from the change, and Alice was a good deal worse off than before, as the March Hare had just upset the milk jug into his plate. Alice did not wish to offend the Dormouse again, so she began very cautiously, "But I don't understand. Where did they draw the treacle from?" I turn into a lolly when someone... Yeah, I guess my voice just...
It's evil!
Oh! Thank you, Roxy, for the raid! Oh my god! Hey, hon! Hi, welcome! Sorry, yeah! Everyone's coming in for the Mad Tea Party! Yeah, we're having a fun time. How was stream? What did you play? I don't have the shout out thing set up quite yet. Let me put my bookmark in. How do I do this on here? Let's just do this. Everyone, please, please. Yes. I don't actually have the stuff set up for that quite yet. I'm still learning. I actually had to ask a friend, hey, how do I even, like, start streaming on Twitch? Like, hit the go button? So, yeah. But no, please, everyone, check out Sola Roxana. She's freaking amazing. She's beautiful and gorgeous, and she's a succubus. And she's super sweet and nice, and you will love her. So yes, please go check her out. She's great. But no. What? Oh, you're doing League and Cringe? Yeah, she plays League and a bunch of other games and stuff, and just chatting. She's great. She's a good friend. She's a good friend, and I will love her. But no, yeah, literally, I set everything up, like all of this, and then I'm like, okay, gonna be streaming today, and I'm like, okay, how do I actually hit the start on stream? So this is who you're dealing with now. I hope you know this. But yeah, you hopped in the Mad Tea Party. Welcome, Raiders. I forgot to say that. I watch enough freaking streamers. I should know that by now, but welcome, Raiders. I am SongBird. We are currently reading some Alice in Wonderland. I am an interdimensional bird. I open portals and I hop through different dimensions, and I'm glad you were able to hop through this one. Ooh, stretch. So much excitement. Hee. But this is my first stream, so I'm glad you could all be here. Let us continue on with this Mad Tea Party. And see how many more creatures Alice can offend this session. Because she is on a roll. Alrighty. She was asking, what did they draw? Said Alice, quite forgetting her promise. Treacle. I feel like I'm mispronouncing that, but we're sticking with it now. Said the Dormouse without considering it all this time. Oh, yeah. Clean cup, we already did that. Upset milk jug. Yes. There we go. I apologize. Bird brain. Hee hee. Alice did not wish to offend the Dormouse again, so she began very cautiously. But I don't understand. Where did they draw the treacle from? You can draw water out of a water well, said the Hatter, so I should think you could draw a treacle out of a treacle well. Eh? Stupid. But they were in the well, said Alice to the Dormouse. Alice said to the Dormouse, not choosing to notice this last remark. Of course they were, said the Dormouse. Well in. This answer so confused poor Alice that she let the Dormouse go on for some time without interrupting it. They were learning to draw, the Dormouse went on, yawning and rubbing its eyes, for it was getting very sleepy. And they drew all manner of things, everything that begins with an M. Why with an M, said Alice. Why not, said the March Hare. Alice was silent. Touché, thought Alice, touché. The Dormouse had closed its eyes by this time and was going off into a doze, but on being pinched by the Hatter, it woke up again with a little shriek and went on. That begins with an M, such as mousetraps and the moon and memory and muchness. You know you say things are much of a muchness. Did you ever see such a thing as drawing of a muchness? Freaking Dormouse, words. Really, now you ask me, said Alice, very much confused. I don't think. Then you shouldn't talk, said the Hatter. This piece of rudeness was more than Alice could bear. She got up in great disgust and walked off. Dormouse fell asleep instantly, and neither of the others took the least notice of her going, though she looked back once or twice, half hoping they would call after her. The last time she saw them, they were trying to put the Dormouse into the teapot. At any rate, I'll never go there again, said Alice as she picked her way through the wood. It's the stupidest tea party I was ever at in all my life. Just as she said this, she noticed that one of the trees had a door leading right into it. That's very curious, she thought, but everything's curious today. I think I might as well go in at once. And she went in. Once more, she found herself in the long hall and close to the little glass table. Now, I'll manage better this time, she said to herself, and began by taking the little golden key and unlocking the door that led into the garden. Then she set to work nibbling at the mushroom. She had kept a piece of it in her pocket till she was about a foot high, and then she walked down the little passage, and then she found herself at last in the beautiful garden among the bright flower beds and the cool fountains. And we have finally made it to the garden. Ugh.
Oh, thank you, Taida. Thank you for... Yes, it is the cutest design. I'm very happy with it. Yes. It makes me very happy.
And unfortunately, oh, thank you for the follow! Y'all are so freaking awesome, man. You're making me happy. I'm making me happy. Gonna make this birdie blush as soon as I can talk again, because I've been reading for, Jesus Christ, 2 hours and 40 minutes. Oh boy, howdy. But unfortunately, you caught just at the end of stream, because my poor voice cannot do any further. So we will continue on with the book next stream, which would be Chapter 8, The Queen's Croquet Ground, where we, I'm assuming, if I am correct, we'll be meeting the Queen of Hearts, and we all know that's going to be a fun time. But no, I get to click that now. All right. So I want to thank everyone again for coming in and hopping through that portal. I know portal travel can be quite crazy. Oh, thank you, Toaster Tom, for the follow. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But no, I know portal travel can be quite unnerving for the unpracticed, so I'm grateful that y'all took the plunge and were able to join me in today in reading Alice in Wonderland. It is definitely one of my favorites, and I hope everyone had a great time. Thank you, Roxy, for the raid, and I just really... Let me get some water. I want to thank everyone who followed, and I am going to do so. So, I am going... That's not what I wanted to click. There we go. I'm going to real quickly go through my followers because I just want to thank like everybody who followed and who are even following like before I even started this whole streaming thing. So here we go. I'm just gonna start from the bottom and go up because that makes most sense to me. I want to thank. All right, I'm gonna thank Cecilia Dragonheart, Pastelasia, Zax Rowan Fairy, Crits Blank, Dragon Phoenix 13. Oh my god, someone else just followed. I will get to you. I'm going up from the top, from the bottom. Ruinous Inferno, Massive Lunchbox, Gaijin Grimpora, I Said Meow, Alley Cat, Takeo, Solana Roxana, Nick Six, Jack Games, Karma Wolf, Lost Access, Hidden Fox VR, Ellie Lopez, Fang XF, Belladan, Arrow Fodder, Gachito Taida, Sefarius, Crossbones Gaming TV, Fantakig, I'm sorry, I cannot pronounce his name, Walking Toothbrush, Vic Buckster Jr., Taida Nano, and Bath Time Toaster Tom. So many people that I've just, sorry, thank you so much for joining the stream. Now it is time for me to find someone to raid. I get to do that now. Haha! Let us see who is on. Who is streaming that we can raid. Let's see. Alrighty. And I am seeing a Jack who is currently streaming. So we are gonna pop in and hop on over there. Let me type him in. He seems Jack James. There we go. He seems to be playing some Destiny too. So we're gonna portal on over there. Don't worry. I swear the portal is safe. You will all come back in one. You all go through in one piece. Hopefully. Don't at me if you don't. I apologize. I will find someone to fix you if you don't. But yes, thank you. We're gonna go in and raid, and thank you all for coming by. Bye! Start raid. Oh, no. Sorry, did that time that a little long. But ready to raid. It's gonna be raiding in a moment. Yes. Alrighty, and now we raid. Nailed it. First try. Let's go.